Now that is how you do a series finale. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So in this video, we are going to be reviewing season 5 of Dynasty. Now, I absolutely love this show. If you've seen all of my reviews and breakdowns, you'll know I am one of the biggest fans of Dynasty. So I was so gutted when it was announced that this whole series is going to come to an end, but I have to say they did wrap it all up really well with some truly excellent storylines, and of course the long-awaited return of the brilliant Steven Carrington. It wasn't one of those respectable cameo appearances in a series or season finale. This time they really did wrap up the Steven Carrington storyline, and I absolutely loved his story arc, especially when he was almost going to kill Adam Carrington for everything that he had done to Steven Carrington, and we are going to be talking about all of that and more in this complete series review. Now, Dynasty is known for having truly juicy storylines, and season 5 definitely was no exception. So I'm going to be talking about all of the main storylines in this section, and then I'll do a full character breakdown and talk about all of the individual storylines in a moment. But the first one, of course, has to be the brilliant showdown between Steven and Adam. Like I said, this was so long awaited, and fans have been wanting to see Steven's epic return for so long. And I have to say, they did it in a really satisfying way, and in a true Dynasty way as well. I absolutely loved seeing evil Steven Carrington and the way in which he kidnapped Adam, the way in which he took off his face mask of Graham. I have to say, really soapy and true Dynasty moments. And you could really feel all of the pain and suffering that Steven has gone through the hands of Adam. And I thought it was really clever how they explained why he hasn't been here for so many seasons. Loved the fight sequence between Adam and Steven. I feel like if they had done that years ago, then Adam would have absolutely defeated Steven. But now Steven really has built up the strength and courage to be able to be a match for Adam and almost killed him. But I have to say, it was true to his character in terms of not wanting to be a murderer and being at the same level as Adam, even though Adam did completely destroy Steven's life. And I guess this means that the door is kind of left open for Adam to eventually have a bit of a massive dramatic return in the future, if that ever does materialize. But I really did love the fact that Steven was then reunited with all of his family members. Of course, they had to give us a moment between him and reuniting with Fallon. Of course, it was only right as well to do that as well with Sammy Joe. I would have loved a couple more moments with Blake and with Alexis as well, but I thought it was really nice how they definitely did elevate this character, like I said before, to not just be a bit of a knockoff cameo appearance, but to be a true integrated part of the storyline of the series finale. The next big storyline, of course, was Fallon and Liam having a baby. I thought it was really nice how they planted the seed of this at the start of the season, and so it was a true story arc across the season. So for example, in the beginning, Fallon is dreaming of having a family one day with Liam, and then it was so heartbreaking when you learn that actually she can't conceive because of the gunshot at the end of the dramatic 4th season, and so they go down the surrogacy route. I thought they could have done a little bit more with that actually, in terms of the Stacey character maybe being a little bit evil, maybe Adam doing a little bit more than what he did do. But you know, ultimately they did have baby Lauren, which I thought was a really nice touch, as of course Fallon in the original series has a daughter called Lauren, and I feel like we definitely saw a softer side of Fallon this season, especially because of the fact that she wants to become a mother. Another storyline arc that was definitely inspired by the original was Crystal's doppelganger. I absolutely loved this storyline. I have been a little bit critical of the Crystal Carrington character, especially after Daniella Alonso took it over from Ana Badanes, as I loved Anna's iteration of the character, but finally I thought the doppelganger storyline meant that Daniella Alonso's version of this character was so good. Again, I wish they would have done a little bit more. I know that Rita did want to kill the original Crystal Carrington character, but I feel like they could have definitely done so much more. I feel like all she really did was trying to get Blake to sign over the company to Beto, and was nearly going to drug him, and was nearly also going to kill Crystal. But like I said, they definitely could have just done so much more with her. I absolutely loved all of the Alexis versus Dominique sequences. They could have definitely done a little bit more with Alexis versus Crystal, but like I said, Crystal was obviously really busy this season, and Alexis versus Dominique definitely does fill that gap, especially with Alexis trying to sell her new skincare line, Dominique trying to build her clothing range, and it definitely did show the entrepreneurial spirit within the rich people environment. And I love the rivalry that they also had live on air on Fallon's shopping network. And Culhane, I guess, also was a big player in this season as well, in terms of having a number of different storylines and being involved with a number of different characters. So for example, he was a producer on Liam's novel being turned into a movie. He was obviously doing all of the business stuff with Sammy Joe. He was being a support support to Kirby and to Dominique as well, and also had his own relationships and did get married at the end of this season. So like I said, so many wicked storyline moments in this series. And like I said, they definitely could have pushed them a lot more. But I have to say, from a wrap-up point of view, they definitely did a really, really wicked job. So episode 22 of Dynasty Season 5 was so good. Such a nice wrap-up to the entire series and the entire season. And I have to say, it was so nice to see Steven Carrington coming back. I feel like if they didn't do that, it would have been an absolute travesty, as he is obviously such a big character that we haven't seen at all for 3 seasons. And it was really nice as they have teased him. A little few mentions in Season 4, no mentions in Season 3, and a couple of mentions in Season 5, so they definitely were building up to it. For a moment, I thought that they did an Alexis and they did kind of reface the Steven character through Graham, as there was a lot more to him in episode 21, but I thought it was such a hilarious reveal, such a true soap-esque moment when Steven took off the mask of Graham and then revealed himself. Such a phenomenal moment. And like I said, I'm so glad that they really gave Steven Carrington a big number of scenes in this finale moment while still wrapping up everybody else's storyline as well. If I'm being completely honest, I can see why they did write out the Steven Carrington character, as he was a little bit boring and wasn't bringing as much drama or enjoyment as the other characters were. No discredit to the actor, as he has always been really, really talented, but I feel like the script could have given him a lot more to do in the first couple of seasons, which is why I feel like Adam's entry was really, really dramatic, as he was a pure evil character. Like I said, they definitely could have given Steven a lot more edge, but I can understand why they wrote him out. But I have to say, when they returned him back as evil Steven, fighting and capturing Adam, almost killing him, and the battle sequences with him, his reunion with all of his family members, so brilliant and so long awaited and so satisfying as well. I feel like all of the fans definitely got what they wanted in terms of having Steven Carrington back, and it was just so heartfelt, especially his reunion with Fallon. But that wasn't the only thing taking place, as of course we had Culhane and Nina's wedding, which was really, really nice. I thought it was really hilarious. A misdirect when you're thinking it is actually Steven and Sammy Joe getting married, but then it's revealed to actually be Culhane and Nina. Fallon and Liam had their baby Lauren, which was such a nice moment, and I thought it was a really nice throwback to the first season, with Culhane driving them, as of course he was the Carrington family driver right in the beginning, but of course has gone on a tremendous career success since then. Dex almost dying was a really dramatic moment too, but a really nice reunion with him and Alexis, and then Blake learning a lot from them, and then valuing Crystal once again. And I love the fact that they showed that Alexis and Dominique are always going to be rivals. Adam has gone back to being a vet and is now in London, so I wonder if he is now going to try to ruin Amanda's life. And speaking of Amanda, she took up the job opportunity that she has been dreaming of for so long, and is now going to be a partner at a massive law firm, and Kirby is now also going to come to the UK to try to potentially explore a relationship with Amanda. So I feel like that could have been really, really interesting if they would have explored that in season 6. And Culhane is now moving to LA to be with Nina, and similarly Jeff is going to move to Nigeria after he has made Jeff Colby Co. a true successful global brand. So like I said, I feel like they wrapped everything up really, really nicely. I love that the final frame of the entire series was the picture that was taken of the entire family, with Steven obviously returning. Like I said, such a brilliant way to wrap up this entire series, and I feel like it was a really successful conclusion to season 5. So of course we're not going to get a season 6, but the writer and producers have spoken about the potential of what could have happened in season 6 had it been commissioned. So the first thing is that the plane would have crashed and would have disappeared, but a couple of different characters would have been on that plane. So maybe Blake would have been on it, maybe Fallon would have been on it, maybe Stacy would have been on it. It would have been really interesting to see who would have potentially disappeared and who would have maybe been killed off on the plane as well. If they had gone down the road of Steven coming back, that would have been really, really nice, that he is officially back as part of the Carrington family. I would have loved to have seen a darker, edgier side to this character, and I loved it when he was battling Blake at the start of the first season. So this could have been a really, really cool storyline. And like I mentioned before, I would have loved a potential return of Anders in a couple of dream sequences as well. And another dream sequence that we would have had to have seen is the 3 Crystal Carrington characters together. That would have been absolutely epic. A lot more betrayals and a lot more layered storylines in terms of a lot more twists and turns taking place, and things that you really wouldn't have expected. As like I said, the first 4 seasons were absolutely incredible about this, especially when somebody comes out of a scene that you weren't expecting. I feel like they only did that once this entire season, where Dominique was leaving after she was telling the Ben character off for abusing her, and then we see that Alexis was always in the room and now has the evil book of deeds from Anders. Of course, Fallon has returned her company from being public to now being fully privately owned, so I would have loved to have seen a lot more business challenges and how she is going to balance doing this whilst also being a mother. I feel like they didn't do that many storylines with Dexter, and I would have loved it. Maybe he would have lost all of his money, and that could have really tested whether or not Alexis would have wanted to really be with him if he isn't a successful billionaire. In the past couple of seasons, we saw a lot more fighting between Blake and Alexis. We saw a little bit in this season, but I feel like in season 6, a lot more epic scenarios between these two characters definitely would have taken place. And like I said, maybe they could have teased Alexis and Blake potentially getting back together for a short amount of time. And of course, this show is renowned for bringing back characters from the past, so I feel like Adam would have definitely had a big dramatic re-entrance. And I feel like they teased and set up so much more rivalry taking place between Ben and Blake, and maybe Adam and Ben could have teamed up and really taken down the Carrington family. Rita could have come back as a bit of a doppelganger as well, and they also did tease the fact that Liam has a sister, so I feel like that could have been an interesting extension. Maybe other Carrington family members wanted to take a piece of the Carrington successful pie, and of course loads of parties and lots of crazy things going on, so I feel like it could have been really, really brilliant, but like I said, they did wrap everything up really, really well. So Dynasty has got a massive cast, and I have to say they do a really good job in terms of ensuring that all of the different characters have really juicy storylines. So let's go through them one by one. So first up, of course, we have Liz Gillies, who does feel like a little bit of the main character out of all of them, as Fallon Carrington. And I have to say, I feel like her spark definitely was removed a little bit, as she was so obsessed with wanting to start a family, as she wasn't as ruthless or dramatic as she has been in previous seasons. But you know, you do definitely see the Fallon we all know and love, especially within the Fallon Unlimited board meetings, where the board, led by Elaine, was always trying to remove Fallon. And I really like the fact that actually they really do show that Elaine has got an ulterior motive in terms of why she's always doing this. But Fallon is always one step ahead. She's always winning in every single battle. I didn't really agree with the fact that she was renaming her brand from Fallon Unlimited to Carrington United, as I feel like she just worked so hard to build Fallon Unlimited. And like I said, her motivation throughout this entire season was trying to do everything that she can for her daughter, which I understand why, as of course she felt like her mother was really absent from her life. But like I said, it did feel like it diluted this character somewhat from how brilliant she was in the first 4 seasons. But nonetheless, Liz Gillies is always able to command and demand the stage. Does a really good job also with her relationship with Adam Huber's Liam character. I feel like they're so believable, and I love how they really were a united team this season, as especially in season 4, Liam is always questioning whether he even wanted to be with Fallon, and she never really valued him at all, whereas this time I feel like they really are a strong pair. Next up we have Grant Show, who I absolutely love as Blake Carrington. I feel like in season 3 and season 4 he kind of went up and down in terms of how prominent he was, but I absolutely love the fact that they really are putting this character front and center. He is the true epitome of an absolutely ruthless, entitled, privileged person, and I just love to watch it as he is just so charismatic, so brilliant, and just so underhand in how he just commands everything, how he does business. At the start of this season, he definitely took a leaf out of Fallon and Liam's book, as he was such a supportive husband to Crystal, especially after he found out that Rita was impersonating her for so long. But in the second half, I feel like he was pretty hostile actually against Crystal, as all of the business stuff was just taking over him. But right at the end, he then did reevaluate that and then did value her once again, which I thought was a really nice touch, as he did this after he spent some time with Alexis and saw how much she was in love with Dex. I thought for a moment they may lead, this storyline might potentially lead to a bit of a reunion taking place between Blake and Alexis, but obviously he then went back to Crystal. And like I said, I just loved him across this season, always had the wicked battles that he is known for in terms of fighting with Jeff Colby, fighting with Alexis, and of course fighting with Ben Blake as well. I absolutely love that storyline, and I just wish that they would have done so much more with Ben versus Blake, and maybe if they were going to do a season 6, we would have seen a lot more of that. Next up we have Elaine Hendrix, who I have to say is just perfectly cast as Alexis Carrington. Just so brilliant, so self-absorbed, doesn't even realize that she is always pushing people away from her. Love the push and pull dynamic with all of her kids. Sometimes she is loving them, sometimes she is hating them, and I just love the fact that she is such a powerful character, so self-assured, so self-confident, literally lights up the room and the screen whenever she is on stage, as she is just so brilliant and super conniving and really headstrong, and does have a good business mind as well, as she was able to make Alexum so successful and just does not take any rubbish and will just do whatever she has to do in order to try to be successful, to try to make loads of money, and is just such a fascinating character. Sam Underwood was really great as Adam as well. I feel like in the last couple of seasons he has similarly gone up and down in terms of being really evil and then trying to be really sucking up to everyone, whereas this time I feel like they definitely brought back his evil side, especially right at the start of this season where he framed his mother for killing the person that he killed off and then sent his mother to jail and then just didn't even care about it, and then went into business with his mother. I thought Adam and Alexis was just such a brilliant pairing. And it's really easy to look at Adam as the evil spawn of the family, but I thought it was really great how they really explained it when he was in therapy with his mother, that actually he feels really abandoned as he was kidnapped and then nobody really cared about him. This obviously doesn't justify anything that he has done during his time on Dynasty, but I'm glad that they at least explained it. He is so traumatized by this and is just always pushing everybody away, is doing all of these evil calculated things. I thought it was really great as well how he is similarly, like his mother, just so obsessed with making his injection a reality, and so went down a bit of a dark path with that to get an illegal substance, and then doctored some of the trial testing, a little bit similar to what Elizabeth Holmes did in the Brilliant The Dropout series. And he also drugged Stacey and nearly had a bit of a relationship with her. I would have loved to have seen a bit of a confrontation with Fallon over this, as we only really saw Crystal and Stacey against Adam. And of course, he removed Steven so brutally from the family, so there was a really nice moment when Steven Carrington came back and had the ultimate revenge with Adam, and then kind of took his place back and then removed Adam completely. So I thought that was a really nice full circle moment. Next up we have Crystal Carrington, who, like I said, I have been pretty critical of in the past couple of seasons, but I loved her this season. I absolutely loved the doppelganger storyline right at the start. I thought Rita was such a phenomenal introduction, and the way in which she took over Crystal's life in a similar way to how Adam took over Steven's life, and how Beto was the mastermind behind all of this and how desperate he was to try to take back his family business. I thought that storyline arc was so good. And then once that was over, we saw how a true tour de force business mastermind Crystal Carrington really is, and in some respects really is able to be on the same level as Blake. I feel like Crystal was so good this season, and was also able to stand up to Adam as well, so it was so brilliant. Next up we have Adam Huber as Liam, and I thought he was so good this season. Usually he is a little bit of a supporting character to all of Fallon's storylines, whereas this time I love the conflict that they were showing in terms of he is really having writer's block. A little bit similar to the character that we also see Richard in the Sandman series in episode 11, where he goes on a bit of an evil path because he has writer's block as well, and is just so desperate to write another successful novel as he is being pressured by his publicist. So a lot of similarities actually with Adam and with the Richard character. And also I thought Liam was so funny as well in a number of sequences. For example, when he is trying to flirt with all of the potential hookers with Sammy Jo. I feel like they definitely could have done a lot more with Liam and his mother, but I guess they definitely did do a lot of that in the previous seasons, but it was only in really one episode that they did that. And they also did talk about Liam's sister, so I feel like also this is something that we would have definitely seen in a future season. Eliza Bennett as Amanda Carrington was decent. I feel like her entrance in season 4 was so phenomenal, but they definitely could have done so much more with this character. I feel like she definitely was a little bit of a spare part. I mean, she did add a lot at the start of the season, especially when she was helping Alexis get out of jail, and she truly did hate Adam, but they definitely didn't do that much with that. It was a little bit light-hearted in terms of just sibling rivalry, not really liking each other and just wanting to destroy Adam's life. I feel like they could have done a little bit more if maybe she knew all about Steven's return, or just added a few more layers to Amanda, as she had the potential to be such a brilliant character. But you know, I feel like all of the career stuff, the fact that she is in a relationship with Kirby, was all fine, but like I said, they just could have and should have just done so much more with her. Speaking of Kirby, Maddison Brown similarly was so wasted. In the previous season, she is such a big personality, such a big character, and she was so reduced this season. They didn't do that much at all with her. Like I said, in a bit of a relationship with Amanda towards the end. Obviously, the Book of Dark and Evil Deeds from Blake Carrington was in possession by Kirby, and then when Alexis got this and gave it to Ben and almost destroyed Blake in court, I mean, that was great, but that wasn't really Kirby's storyline, and she was just a friend to Culhane and to Sammy Jo, which again is fine, but they could have just done so much more with her for sure. She was such a whirlwind of a character in the previous seasons, and it was so short-lived when she returned to modelling for Dominique. So like I said, just such a wasted character this season. Culhane was really, really great. He was so desperate to be in a relationship this entire season, and I love how he was with a number of different people this season and potential partners, but they always had Nina in the background and always having a lot of tension between the two of them. So in some respects, you could kind of see a mile off in terms of where they were going to end, and I did love the fact that they did end with a brilliant wedding sequence, like they have done in a number of Dynasty finales. And this character had a true happy ending, as he is now going to LA to explore a bit of a producer career, and I love all of the Culhane and Sammy Jo sequences. They did say in season 6 if it was to happen, then Culhane would have been back and forth, so this definitely wouldn't have been the last time that we saw Culhane, but I love the potential of him being with the ex of the person that they killed. That storyline was really, really good. Sammy Jo was really, really good, all as the light-hearted comedy relief character across all of the seasons, but I have to say it was really emotional. I definitely did shed a few tears when you saw the death of his father and the family reunion that was taking place, and the tension as well when he thought that his dad was going to be on drugs. I feel like that storyline arc was really, really good. Like I said before, trying to find the escorts, working with Liam, absolute gold. And then also being reunited with all of his exes, but the ultimate ex then came back, Steven Carrington. And of course he had a lot of hotel drama, but I feel like Sammy Jo was definitely bringing the light relief across the entire season. Jeff Colby was fine this season, definitely not as edgy or as mastermind-esque as he has been in previous seasons. On that point, I feel like this season was really, really good, but you didn't really see all of the true twisted, dramatic storylines and really shocking moments that this series has been known for. So for example, back in the first season, when Fallon was being really underhand and took the company from Jeff and was partnering with Blake the whole time, I feel like there wasn't anything like that this season, and I feel like Jeff had the potential to do that, but was a little bit of a do-gooder when he wanted to take down all of the evil corporates. I did like the fact that he finally had a bit of a stalemate with Blake. It would have meant a lot more if they had had a bit of a juicier storyline between these two business heavyweights, but you know, nonetheless, I feel like this character was okay. And I did really love his moments with Fallon. So for example, when he was the temporary CEO of Fallon Unlimited, and when he was a short-term partner as well on Morale, and so many people wanted to take advantage of his brilliant IT skills. And last but by no means least, we have Dominique, who was so good as well. I feel like she is able to light up a screen in a similar way to Alexis, and on that point, all of her battles with Alexis were absolutely legendary. She is working really, really hard, truly self-made, to try to make her clothing line a success, and then it is a success. And I thought it was really interesting the challenges that comes with success. But this actress and character has so much more potential, and in the previous seasons I feel like she had much juicier storylines. So similarly to Jeff, she was okay this season, but definitely could have done so much more. I thought that they would have brought back her daughters, but they were nowhere to be seen this season. And similarly, they could have definitely brought back Anders. I know he had quite a nice send-off and he did have a bit of a ghost-esque type appearance at the end of season 4, but I feel like it would have been nice to kind of see him back. And I would have loved to have seen the past two Crystals, Natalie and Anna, coming back as well. That could have been such a brilliant sequence, but at least we got Steven Carrington coming back. So from a casting character's point of view, they were really, really good on the whole, but I feel like they definitely could have pushed them a little bit further. So Dynasty is renowned for looking absolutely incredible, really, really extravagant, and this season definitely was no exception. And they definitely made up for lost time as well, as of course the pandemic definitely affected the past couple of seasons. Whereas this time, they definitely had their mojo back, as there were a massive number of party sequences, so many extras in all of the sequences as well. Really, really extravagant, really loved all of the mansion sequences. All of the fashion is really brilliant as well, and all of the characters always look super, super glamorous, definitely put their best foot forwards quite literally. And so many business stuff taking place this season as well. Of course, loads of wedding sequences taking place, loads of fights taking place. I just feel like from a visuals point of view, this season and this show always delivers. So from a comparisons point of view, I feel like season 5 is a really solid entry. Like I said, it wraps everything up really, really nicely. I loved seasons 1 and season 2. Those will always be my favorite. I feel like 3 and 4 definitely were up and down. And even though 5 was up and down as well, I feel like it was slightly stronger than seasons 3 and seasons 4. And even though there are so many other shows that looks at the extravagant lives of the rich and famous, I have to say Dynasty is always one level above. So overall, I have to say I am so gutted that Dynasty has come to an end, as it is quite literally such an outstanding show. Brilliant characters, brilliant storylines, and not only did they wrap everything up really, really nicely, I feel like they concluded all of the storyline arcs with all of their different characters really, really nicely. I hope that one day we do get a bit of a movie continuation, and I'm sure way down the line, maybe 10, 20 years, they maybe will do another Dynasty reboot, but I have to say this series was so strong. Easily one of my favourite TV shows across the last 5 years, and I have to say Dynasty just always delivered. And season 5 was definitely no exception. They wrapped everything up and they brought back Steven Carrington, who was able to execute his ultimate revenge plan in terms of removing Adam completely. So I have to say they did such a good job with the 5th season of Dynasty. I mean, it wasn't perfect. I feel like they definitely could have done a little bit more with certain characters and with certain storylines. But on the whole, it was a brilliant conclusion to this epic show that I have just absolutely loved for the last 5 years. And so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give Dynasty season 5 a solid 7.5 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear what you thought of season 5 of Dynasty and the finale as well. So please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.